You know, for the longest time, when we talked about AI, it was all about the big tech companies, right? A race between giants. Well, in late 2025, that whole story just blew up. The Western world, which seemed pretty united on this front, suddenly split. We're now looking at two totally different state-led visions for where AI is headed. So let's get into it and figure out how this great divergence actually happened. And this quote, wow, it really nails the gravity of what went down. Look, we're not just talking about some new app or a slightly faster chatbot. This is a fundamental shift. The whole game changed from a private sector sprint to what is basically two competing national industrial strategies. And the implications? Well, they're going to shape the rest of the 21st century. So the big question, the one we're going to unpack in this explainer, is how did this happen? How did the Western AI world just split in two? What on earth pushed the US and Europe down such wildly different roads in the quest for AI dominance? Let's dig in and break it down. Okay, so it really all boils down to what the source report calls a Sputnik moment. But it wasn't just one thing. Think of it as two separate, massive pressures building up on both sides of the Atlantic. Over in America, you had this sudden panic about a science gap, this fear that the private sector just couldn't make the next big leap on its own. And then in Europe, it was this looming competitiveness crisis, a real gut feeling that they were getting left in the dust by the AI revolution. And get this, it all crystallized in a single pivotal week. On November 19th, the EU drops a bombshell, a proposal to radically overhaul its digital rules. Then, just 5 days later, the US president signs an executive order launching this massive, state-run AI mission. And boom, just like that, in less than a week, the Western world wasn't united anymore. It had officially split into two rival camps. All right, let's tackle the American side first. They're calling it the Genesis mission, and they're not being subtle about it. It's being framed as a Manhattan project for the AI age. This is not about handing out grants to a few startups. No, this is a top-down, centralized, security-first government mission. The goal? To basically take the reins of scientific discovery and secure total technological dominance. So the executive order itself has three main pillars, and it's all about speed and scale like we've never seen before. Pillar 1, create one single integrated AI platform for the entire US government. Pillar 2, use that platform to cement American leadership in all the key technologies. And Pillar 3, and this one is wild, use AI to literally compress decades of scientific research into just a handful of years. And this right here, this is the core problem the Genesis mission is designed to crack. See, America is sitting on a treasure trove of scientific data, one of the biggest in the world, but it's a mess. It's siloed away in different agencies like NOAA, NASA, the NSA. It's unformatted, sometimes it's even classified. So job number one for the mission is to smash those silos, pour all that data into one giant data lake, and use it to train the next generation of AI. And you can't do that without some serious horsepower. So the US is bringing its computational arsenal to bear. I mean, its incredible supercomputing infrastructure. We've got the current workhorses, Frontier and Aurora, which are already amazing. But the real game changer here is Lux, which is set to launch in 2026. See, Lux is different. It's not a traditional supercomputer built for simulations, it's an AI native machine, built from the ground up for training and inference. It's a huge pivot from just solving equations to actually using AI to predict the future. Okay, so that's America. Now let's jump across the pond to Europe. The EU strategy, well, it comes from a totally different place. It wasn't born out of a quest for dominance, but from a deep-seated fear of becoming irrelevant. There was this big, influential report by Mario Draghi, and it basically landed like a bombshell. It laid out, in stark terms, how the continent was falling dangerously behind in the global tech race. And the report did not pull any punches. The diagnosis was blunt. Europe totally missed the cloud computing revolution, and it was on the verge of missing the AI one too, pretty much drowning under the weight of its own regulations. So the prescription was just as stark. Europe needed a radical U-turn. It had to stop being the world's digital referee and start being an enabler for its own tech industry. And that's exactly what led to this digital omnibus regulation. The EU literally started to, as they put it, prune the complex jungle of its own laws. They eased GDPR rules to make AI training easier, they created some legitimate interest workarounds for using personal data, and crucially, they slammed the pause button on the strictest parts of the AI Act, basically giving their own industries some much-needed breathing room to catch up. But look, changing the rules is one thing. You still need the hardware. So to build up that computational muscle, the EU launched its AI Factories initiative. And this is a massive plan. We're talking smaller regional AI factories to help small and medium businesses get access to AI, plus a few gigantic AI gigafactories designed to go head-to-head with the American hyperscalers. And the whole thing is backed by a 20 billion euro investment fund. This quote really captures the logic behind Europe's whole apply AI strategy perfectly. The thinking goes something like this. Let's just concede the race to build the huge foundational models, the AI power plants, to the US giants. Instead, Europe is going to focus on what it does best, building the appliances, taking that AI and embedding it deep into its incredible industrial base. Think automotive, manufacturing, aerospace, you name it. So there you have it, two completely different blueprints for the future. But what's so fascinating is that they're both gunning for the exact same thing, AI sovereignty. Both the US and the EU want to be masters of their own technological destiny. They just have totally fundamentally different playbooks for how to achieve it. Let's compare them head to head. First up, how they're organized. The US model is all about centralization. It's a top-down, military-style mission designed for one thing: speed. The risk, of course, is a single point of failure. The EU, on the other hand, is a federation. It's a distributed network spread across all its member states. That gets you a lot more buy-in, for sure, but man, it makes decision-making a lot slower and way more complex. Then you look at their core priorities and their polar opposites. The US is laser-focused on security. AI is viewed as a geopolitical weapon and essential tool for national security. The goal is simple: win the race. Privacy, ethics, those are important, but they come second. Meanwhile, the EU is doubling down on its rights-based DNA, building on things like GDPR. The bet here is that trustworthy AI isn't a weakness, it's a long-term competitive advantage. And finally, let's follow the money. How are they funding these massive projects? America is making a high-risk, high-reward bet. They're repurposing existing infrastructure funds and basically praying for some quick, flashy breakthroughs to keep the whole thing going. It's a huge gamble that could run out of steam. Europe's approach is, well, more European. It's bureaucratic but stable. They're using 20 billion euros in loans and grants. The money takes longer to get out the door, but it provides long-term stability for these huge projects. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's pretty clear what this is: a great AI gamble. Both sides are making these massive, multi-trillion-dollar wagers on what the future of science and technology is going to be. The ultimate question is, which of these two huge bets is actually going to pay off? The report offers a really powerful metaphor to help us understand this. Think of the US strategy as the rocket. It's all about a massive, concentrated burst of energy aiming for escape velocity for one single goal: dominance. Europe, on the other hand, is building the rail. It's methodical, it's efficient, it's regulated, and its purpose is to connect an entire ecosystem together. And you're going to want to circle a year on your calendar, 2027. That's when we're going to see a critical showdown. It's the year America's next-gen Discovery exascale supercomputer is supposed to come online. And it's the exact same time that the EU's strictest AI regulations are finally scheduled to kick in. The results of these two competing visions are going to become crystal clear. The long-term risk here is, well, it's huge. There's a real danger that we could see the rise of what the report calls scientific nationalism. This could lead to a kind of splinter net, but for AI, where the US and EU models become so fundamentally different, so incompatible, that they can't even talk to each other. We'd have two separate walled-off digital worlds. And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. The stakes in this great divergence are just unbelievably high, because the winner here doesn't just dominate a market. They get to define the very methodology of scientific discovery for the next 100 years. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what happens to progress itself if these two worlds, these two incredible engines of discovery, can no longer connect?